1. Two documents, one common confusion. Many foreigners marrying in Vietnam believe that a will can replace a prenuptial agreement. Others assume a prenup automatically controls inheritance. Both assumptions are legally incorrect. 2. Why this confusion is so common. Prenuptial agreements and wills both deal with assets. They are often discussed together in cross-border planning. But under Vietnamese law, they serve fundamentally different legal functions. 3. What a prenuptial agreement actually controls. A prenuptial agreement governs the marital property regime during the marriage. It determines how assets, income, and liabilities are classified between spouses. Its primary function operates while both spouses are alive. 4. What a will legally does. A will governs the transfer of assets upon death. It determines who inherits what, and under what conditions. It does not redefine ownership during marriage. 5. Why one cannot replace the other. A will cannot retroactively change whether an asset is joint or separate. A prenup cannot distribute assets after death. Each document addresses a different legal moment. 6. The role of Vietnamese marital property law. In Vietnam, the classification of assets at the time of death matters greatly. Only the deceased's portion of property can be transferred by will. If an asset is classified as joint, only half may be subject to inheritance. 7. How prenups shape what a will can control. A properly drafted prenuptial agreement determines what belongs to each spouse. This classification directly affects the estate available for distribution. In this sense, a prenup sets the stage for the will. 8. A common and costly misunderstanding. Some foreigners draft wills assuming they can leave all assets to children or other heirs. They overlook the fact that part of the estate may legally belong to the surviving spouse. Without a prenup, this assumption often fails. 9. Foreign assets complicate the picture. In cross-border marriages, assets are often located in multiple jurisdictions. Vietnamese law may govern marital classification, while foreign law governs inheritance procedure. Without coordination, conflicts are almost inevitable. 10. Why wills alone often fail in practice. A will drafted overseas may be valid in its home jurisdiction. But if it conflicts with Vietnamese marital property rules, its effect can be limited. Vietnamese courts prioritize domestic family law principles. 11. Prenups as a risk management tool. A prenup reduces uncertainty during marriage. It clarifies ownership long before succession becomes relevant. This clarity prevents disputes between spouses and heirs later. 12. Wills as a succession tool, not a structural one. A will expresses intent, but does not create structure. It distributes what the law says you own. It cannot override marital classification. 13. What happens without coordination? When prenups and wills are inconsistent, courts must reconcile them. Statutory rules fill the gaps. Personal intent becomes secondary. 14. For second marriages, the risk is higher. Foreigners entering second marriages often have children from prior relationships. Without a prenup, inheritance expectations frequently clash. Wills alone rarely prevent conflict. 15. Business ownership and succession. For founders and investors, business interests are often the largest asset. A prenup defines ownership during marriage. It will determine succession only within that defined ownership. 16. Why timing matters for both documents. A prenup must be signed before marriage registration. A will can be updated later. Missing the prenup window permanently limits estate planning flexibility. 17. Courts look for consistency. Vietnamese courts assess whether legal documents align logically. Conflicting instruments weaken enforceability. Consistency strengthens credibility. 18. A practical framework for foreigners. Use a prenuptial agreement to define ownership during marriage. Use a will to distribute assets after death. Do not expect either document to perform the role of the other. 19. The strategic takeaway. Prenups and wills are complementary, not interchangeable. In cross-border marriages, both are necessary. Ignoring this distinction creates long-term legal risk. 20. Final message structure before distribution. Inheritance planning begins with ownership clarity. In Vietnam, that clarity comes from marital agreements first, only then can a will function as intended. Under Vietnamese law, ownership classification determines what can actually be inherited. If you rely only on a will, without clarifying marital property first, your estate plan may not work as intended. If you need clarity on how prenuptial agreements and wills operate under Vietnamese law, contact LTS Law at lts.com.vn for professional legal support.